In today's episode of Toy Time, Miss Forrest, the 2020 Burroughs Welcome Fund North Central Teacher of the Year, is going to teach you all about different ways to communicate with people. She's going to read a fun story, and you're going to learn about different ways to express your thoughts and your feelings.
Hi, friends in North Carolina. I'm so glad you joined us today. I'm Carol Forrest, the Burroughs Welcome Fund 2020 Teacher of the Year in the North Central region. I live in Franklin County and teach at Long Mill Elementary School. I'm glad you joined us today for a really great and fun lesson. I brought two friends with me today. I have one of my very good friends from school, Mrs. Brooks. She teaches right down the hall from me. And I brought another really great friend. You probably know this friend. This is Nuffle Bunny. And if you don't know Nuffle Bunny, by the end of the day, you will know Nuffle Bunny. Because today, we're going to do your story. It's going to be awesome. I love your story, Nuffle Bunny. I'm glad you've joined us. We're going to be talking about ways to communicate. There are a lot of ways to communicate, and that's what our lesson is about today. Let's take a look at our I can statements. These are the things that we can do. I can tell you what I'm thinking. I'm telling you right now what I'm thinking with my words. I can let you know what I'm thinking. That does not always need words. I can know what you are thinking. And I can use many ways to communicate. Nuffle Bunny, Mrs. Brooks, are you ready to talk about communication today?
I am.
Good. We are ready to talk about ways to communicate. How we communicate. There are a lot of ways that we use. From the day that we are born to the day that we die, we are wanting to communicate what we are thinking. The first way that we learn to communicate is through our actions. If you have babies in the house, you know that babies use their actions to tell us what they are thinking. Let's take a look at some of Mrs. Brooks's actions and see if we can guess what she's thinking. Oh, she is unhappy or maybe hurt, but her crying tells me that something is not right. Crying tells me something's not good. What's another one? Oh, laughing. Laughing is an action that tells me you are enjoying something, you find something very funny, or you see something funny. But that brings us joy to our heart. That's a great action. I like it. How about another one? Oh, throwing a fit. Absolutely. It's going to tell me something that she is thinking. There is something not right, and she wants me to know it. It's not just unhappy, and it's not something that might hurt. It's something she does not like. There's other ones too. Actions. Oh, you need something, Mrs. Brooks. Oh, I need to go with you. Oh, I see. The pulling action lets you know that there is something they're thinking that they want you to see or want you to do. Pulling is an action that communicates. One more. Oh yes, snacks. Let's go have snacks. Pointing is a great action that lets you know that someone is thinking something that you're not. So be sure to look at what that point might be showing. Here's the next one. After we learn that our actions can have meaning, then we use gestures. There are lots of gestures that we use. You will notice some of these that your teachers use at school and your moms and daddies use at home. How about this one?
Oh, no. We don't do that. That is something that's inappropriate.
That's right. How about this one?
What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I don't understand. Can you help clarify what you're wanting to say?
That's right.
Come here. I need you to come to me right now, please.
That's right. This is a good one.
Shh. I've asked you several times to stop talking, so I need you to be quiet right now.
Or,
Stop. I need you to stop what you're doing to keep from getting yourself hurt.
all right, those are gestures, and we use those all the time. One more that we're going to talk about right now, and that is body language. Our bodies can say something even if maybe our gestures are not or our actions are not, just the way we stand.
I am not having that. I am upset with you and don't want to even look at you right now.
That's our body language. Here's another one.
That could be upset, disgusted. I cannot believe you did that. You know better than that.
You maybe have seen that before. I know I have. How about this one?
Can you repeat that again? I don't think I heard you the first time. Can you speak up just a little bit louder, please?
It's very close to gesturing, but it's also body language because your whole body is leaning into wanting to hear a little bit better. Those are the three first ways that we learn to communicate. I want you to be looking around in your house, in your maybe neighborhood, with your cousins that you might get to see, or maybe a grandma, and see if you can see some of these ways that people are communicating. We're going to be back to talk about the rest of the ways that we use to communicate.
You just learned all about different ways to communicate. You learned about gestures, body language, speaking, writing, illustrations, and sign language. Right now, we're going to pause and I want you to try to find examples of the different ways we communicate. You might see illustrations in books around you. You may notice writing on papers at home. You may hear people speaking or see different examples of gestures or body language. Try to find 3 great examples of the ways we communicate. Were you able to find different types of communication around you? Keep looking throughout the day and try to think about the different ways that you communicate with others. Now, it's time for a fun story time with Miss Forrest. Miss Forrest is going to read you a great storybook. As she reads this book, your job is to become a detective. We want you to search out the different types of communication that show up in this book. There are a lot of different examples. You just have to look closely and listen up. Have fun!
This is our story, Nuffle Bunny by Mo Willems. You might recognize the name Mo Willems. He's, of course, the author of The Pigeon and Gerald and Elephant also. What a great story is in store for you. Nuffle Bunny by Mo Willems. Oh, meet Trixie. She is Nuffle Bunny's owner. Not so long ago, before she could even speak words, Trixie went on an errand with her daddy. Oh, look at the body language. Trixie and her daddy went down the block, through the park, past the school, and into the laundromat. Trixie helped her daddy put the laundry into the machine. She even got to put the money in the machine. And then they left. But a block or so later, Trixie realized something. Trixie turned to her daddy and said, "Aggle, flaggle, clabble." "That's right," replied her daddy. "We're going home." "Aggle, flaggle, clabble," said Trixie again. "Blaggle, plabble, whumpy, flappy." "Now, please don't get fussy," said her daddy. Well, she had no choice. Trixie bawled, "Wah!" and she went boneless. She did everything she could to show how unhappy she was. And by the time they got home, her daddy was unhappy too. As soon as Trixie's mommy opened the door, she asked, "Where's Snuffle Bunny?" The whole family ran down the block, and they ran through the park. They zoomed past the school and into the laundromat. Trixie's daddy looked for Snuffle Bunny and looked and looked and looked, but Snuffle Bunny was nowhere to be found. So Trixie's daddy decided to look harder until Snuffle Bunny! And those were the very first words Trixie ever said. The end. So many great examples of body language, gestures, using those words that aren't really words, and actions that were communicating clearly exactly what Trixie and her daddy were thinking. Did you enjoy that story? I love Snuffle Bunny. You know, there's a Snuffle Bunny 2. You need to look it up and find it. It's a great story about Trixie when she's just a little bit older. If you look right here, though, you can see body language. You can see gestures. And as you have looked through Snuffle Bunny and listened to it, you have seen almost every one of those ways to communicate. This is the last one, the only one that we didn't do, but Mrs. Brooks is going to show us right now some of those most important signs as we learn to communicate with those who have hearing impairments. Ms. Brooks.
So, of course, the first thing that you want to do if you meet a new friend that is deaf or hard of hearing is to say hello. How would you think you would say hello in sign language? Very simple. You take your right hand, you put it up to your forehead, and you swing it out. Hello, just kind of like you've seen soldiers do when they're saluting each other. Hello, that's how we say hello. Another one would be, how are you? You take both of your hands, put your fingers together, your thumbs up, and then you just swing out. How are you? You could be a gesture. We're pointing to someone. How are you? So we have hello, how are you? So that's one way to communicate with a deaf person. Another one is, what's your name? You saw Miss Forrest do the what? So you could do that. What? Your, and then name, you take two H's and put on top of each other. Name. What's your name? And that is how you ask a deaf or hard of hearing person what their name is. Another one, of course, would be yes or no, which we saw Miss Forrest do the yes And we're going to pretend like this is our head, and we're going to just shake. Yes. Simple. Yes. But no is a little bit difficult. No, we're taking our index finger, our middle finger, and our thumb, and we're just closing it. No. That is the sign for no. So we have yes, and we have no. What about helping someone? If you want to ask a deaf or hard of hearing person that might be in your classroom if they need help, how would you ask that? Well, if you're asking someone, you're just going to take the help sign, which is your left hand, your left palm, taking a thumbs up of your right hand on top of your left palm and taking it towards the person. That is the great thing about sign language. It is directional. So if you're asking if they need help, you're actually saying, I can help you. Or if you need help, going this way. I need help, and this is you need help. And that's asking a deaf or hard of hearing person if they need help. Another one might be wanting. Do you want something? So you would do I, just pointing to yourself, gesturing, want, taking both of your hands, open flat hands, curling your fingers in and pulling it towards yourself, want. So I want, or you want something to eat. We're taking our closed hand, putting it at our mouth. That's the sign for eat. Drink, maybe you want something to drink. You're going to pretend like you're drinking out of a cup. That's the sign for drink. What about to be friends? I want to be your friend. I want to be your friend. We're going to take both of our index fingers, crook them, and pull at each other. So that's the sign for friend. I want to be your friend. What about if they seem to be really sad? Maybe they want their mom or they want their dad. And the best of all is to let a deaf or hard of hearing person know that you want to be your friend, which we've already showed you friends. So that's just a few simple signs that you can show a deaf or hard of hearing person that you meet to let them know that you are interested in them and you want to be their friend.
Mrs. Brooks, I want school.
School. Oh, that's important. Yes, school. I miss school.
I do too. And now I know how to say, Mom, I want school. It's going to be back before we know it. We miss you, friends. Hey, be looking at ways to communicate. Remember that it is your ideas that you are communicating, and it's other people's ideas that you are hearing as they are learning to communicate. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you, Mrs. Brooks, for joining us today, too. This was fun. We'll see you again another time.
There are so many ways to communicate with people around you. Here we have the American Sign Language alphabet. We encourage you to look at the letters and practice some of them. Maybe you can start learning sign language during school closures so you can communicate with friends at school who are deaf and unable to hear your words.